YouTube. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast, talking Auburn football. Here with the Cover One podcast, where we're doing this thing solo here on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. We're ready to talk about Tank Bigsby. I actually haven't talked about Auburn players or Auburn football or games coming up here in a while. There's been a lot of moving parts as far as the future of the Auburn program, especially with the hire of Brian Harsin from Boise State. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. Of course, we know Auburn has hired Brian Harsin. That has been the biggest news on the plains here for the last few days after a 9-day coaching search. Now have a different leader at the helm. I want to give a big shout out to Brian Harsin from Boise State and give him a welcoming War Eagle. But Auburn actually has some unfinished business with this particular season. I think there's still some goals that Auburn can actually meet. And there are a few players that can actually cash in on some goals, and we're going to get into that in just a second. Of course, we know that Northwestern statistically has been a pretty stingy defense. They only allow about 15 points per game. And as far as scoring, they don't score a lot of points. Their opening, it seemed like at the onset that they might be a high-scoring offense. They scored about 40-something points against Maryland, but after that, it's been in the 20s, lower 20s, 17s, and a lot of their games have been really, really close because they're on the flip side of possibly being a team that could have lost a few more games this year. Very close games this year, but there are also some games that they lost and they could have won. They lost to Michigan State by 9 points, lost to Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game by 12 points. So the margin of error is razor thin for Northwestern. Now, as we talk about the goals of the Auburn Tigers, no, there is no championship on the line. There is no light at the end of the tunnel to where Auburn is going to run off with a championship game, a SEC championship game. An SEC championship win. But there's a milestone that Auburn actually has not reached since 2017. We're going to talk about that as well in a few seconds. Now, another entity of this game that I want to see is Bo Nix, who has been the presumed starting quarterback, at least for the Auburn's near future, to continue to make good decisions. Good decisions in the pocket. Good decisions as far as when to scramble, when not to scramble, how to read the outside linebacker, how to, just do the things that he needs to do, especially considering that he was a 5-star quarterback coming out of high school. He just hasn't lived up to the bill. And some of it could have been coaching. Some of it could have been the lack of development at the offensive line. The offensive line actually struggled with some injuries during the year. But at times, though, Bo Nix seems to be his own worst enemy as far as decisions. He's got to continue to slow the game down. He's got to continue to be the type of leader that can lead the type of team that Auburn wants to be long term to a possible 10-win season, or give Auburn the opportunity to win SEC West championships, SEC championships, and give them a chance to make the college football playoff. And as we all know, that subpar quarterback play on any level, in any conference, is not going to get you there. Because if you look at all 4 teams that are in the college football playoff, they have very sound quarterback play, and they play very well on both sides of the line of scrimmage. But here's the situation. Tank Bigsby, out of Callaway High School, Hogansville, Georgia, middle of nowhere. But they have a diamond in the rough, all but a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, has had a very, very good season at Auburn. Now, this has been an abbreviated season. This is what I want you guys to try on for your mental size. A very abbreviated season, only 10 games, an SEC only schedule, which means high levels of competition. And to try this even more on for your mental size, he was actually injured, and at the beginning of the season didn't have a particular ace role in this offense. But when he started to come on, he became one of the hottest running backs in the country, garnished the SEC Freshman of the Year with 834 yards. Now, there's a milestone that is left on the table right now. Tank Bigsby has the opportunity with a very solid football game here against Northwestern coming on New Year's Day in the Citrus Bowl. He has the opportunity to do what I know his goal is. As hard as he worked during the offseason, I know that he wants to be, and he could very well be, the first Auburn running back since Kerryon Johnson to have a 1,000-yard season. But that's not going to come easy against the Northwestern football defense, who hasn't given up a lot of yards to the running back. As a matter of fact, you look down the stat line, you see 70, you see 60, you see 80, you see 109 as the highest until Northwestern took on Ohio State. And Trey Sermon from Ohio State torched Northwestern for over 300 yards rushing. All Tank Bigsby needs is to have a 180-plus yard game. And I'm not going, and it's easy. It's easy for me to sit back and say all, but if Tank Bigsby can have a 180-plus yard football game against Northwestern in an abbreviated season to where he wasn't the feature back the whole season, has a chance to be the first 1,000-yard rusher at what has been perceived as a portion of the running back university fraternity. Because Auburn has had a legacy and has had a history of producing good running backs. You go all the way back to Bo Jackson, James Bostic, Stephen Davis, Carnell Williams, Ronnie Brown, all of those guys that have set the stage, Trey Mason, and there's some guys that I didn't mention in this group, but they have all set the stage to where Auburn, at minimum, will have one running back that has at least 1,000 yards every year, and Tank Bigsby has that opportunity right in front of him going into the Northwestern game. Come on, guys, let's get in the comment section and tell me what you think. Tell me, do you think, not Carnell Williams, that's the running back coach, but tell me if you think Tank Bigsby will eclipse that milestone in his freshman year, the first true freshman to do it since Michael Dyer back in 2010. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast, Cover One Podcast. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports. Auburn, and as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger. War Eagle.